Hey guys, it's Christy with Christy's Custom Creations, and today I'm going to show everyone how I made this absolutely stunning mermaid scale tumbler by using cardstock paper, chameleon color shifting pigments, and chunky glitter from KCC Glitter. So to get started, I cut out a whole 12 by 12 sheet of mermaid scales on cardstock paper using my Silhouette Cameo 4. I made the mermaid scales about an inch tall, and I did one sheet. I ended up needing partial of a second sheet afterwards, but we started off with one sheet and then I cut more later on. It really doesn't matter what color cardstock you use because you're going to end up spray painting over it. So also I've got some double-sided sticky tape here, and I got this whole pack of them from Amazon, so I'll link those down in the description box below so you can find them. They come in all different sizes, but I decided this is kind of like a medium size. I held one of the scales up to it and just kind of figured that it was a good size. So I'm going to lay this double-sided sticky tape all the way around the tumbler here, and then whenever I go to meet the other end of the sticky tape, I pull up the backing on it, as you see here, and then I am going to cut it and lay it over. So I'm going to leave the backing to my double-sided sticky tape on while I kind of work my way around the cup, just because I have my cup sitting on a towel right now. People have different things they like to set their cups on, but I didn't want my double-sided sticky tape picking up the lint from the towel and getting less sticky, so I kept it covered as I worked my way around the tumbler, and you'll see what I mean as I place the scales. So I'm just placing the scales, and I'm literally going to place them and make my way around the tumbler here. I'm going to place them side by side as I go around, and I just tip to tip, and they don't have to cover down around the bottom. We're going to actually end up putting chunky glitter down on the bottom, so it doesn't have to be perfect down there because the chunky glitter is going to kind of climb up the cup and then also start at the top of the cup and fall down the cup as well. So the top and bottom don't have to be absolutely perfect, but I still tried to get it as perfect as I could. But I lined them up, made my way around the tumbler, and then once I got done with that, it was time for another line of double-sided sticky tape. So I'm just gonna let you kind of watch and see the process as we go. And you will have some areas where your scales want to kind of overlap a little bit. Don't stress over it. It's no big deal. These cups are not, the scales on these cups are not perfect. So if they overlap slightly, don't stress over it. It's totally okay. So now that I have got that on, I was kind of trying to figure out where I wanted to place the next scale. But now that I've got that on, it is time for the next row of double-sided sticky tape. So I am really going to speed this section up because otherwise we will be here all day long. And this is already almost a 30-minute long video. So I super sped this part up, and a good majority of the video is sped up from here as well. This cup was super fun and kind of therapeutic to do, placing all the scales one by one. But it was extremely time consuming. So I really loved this cup and I loved how it turned out, but I don't plan on making another one unless I have a whole lot of time to kill, because my child keeps me very busy as it is, which can be very difficult when you're trying to place scale after scale onto a cup. But I love how this cup turned out. So, I mean, the hard work and the tediousness of it was definitely, I don't even know if tediousness is a real word, but it was definitely worth it. So I just make my way around the cup with the scales. And you want to put the scales where the two scales meet on the row below it. You want the curved bottom portion of the scale to kind of meet up right there. I hope that makes sense. And your lines for your tape don't have to be perfectly straight. These cups aren't perfect. They're all very slightly unique in their own way. And also, if you have any little bitty gaps between the scales, don't stress over it. It's not a big deal because we're actually going to spray paint this black. So where you might see a little bit of metal showing, it's no big deal at all because it's going to get painted black and then it's going to have the color shifting pigment over it. And so not a big deal at all. You won't even be able to tell later on as you create this tumbler. I do want to take just a minute to mention that most of the products that you see me use in this video and most of my videos, I buy on Amazon. I'm an Amazonaholic, and it's just so much easier to have it delivered to my house than it is to go try to hunt it down in a store. And a lot of this stuff isn't available in stores. I mean, like, where are you going to get a whole pack of double-sided sticky tape like this just as easily as you can just going on to Amazon? So like I said, most of the stuff I get on Amazon, and I will have it all linked down in the description box below as to where you can find it. I also want to mention that the color shifting pigment and the glitter that you see me use in this video are from my new glitter line, kccglitter.com, and we are actually going to officially launch our website this coming Wednesday, June 23rd. And let me tell you, we are so incredibly excited about this. This is the day we have been waiting for what has seemed like an eternity. We did a soft launch a few weeks back to just my Patreon members, and it was a hit. My Patreon members are the bomb, and they got their hands on some really, really beautiful glitter, but my Patreon member support was just absolutely unbelievable. I couldn't believe how supportive they were, and some of them just, I mean, they went all out with the glitter, and we actually sold out of a few colors. So we are restocking as we speak, and this Wednesday, 2 days from now, we will have our official launch to everybody. So y'all get ready. We are so excited about it. Okay, so as you can see, I needed more scales. So I went ahead and cut another 12 by 12 sheet of scales using just some regular old cardstock. I got it out of a book of different color cardstock that I think I bought at Hobby Lobby probably 20 years ago. And I have it laying around the house. So I decided that was the best to use for this. And like I said earlier, color does not matter for the cardstock that you use because you're going to be spray painting it anyway. So I'm just going to continue to lay these scales all over this tumbler. Okay, whew, that was a lot of work. It is now time to Mod Podge these scales down. And I just have regular old Mod Podge, and I have got a huge container of it. And I'm just going to take my paintbrush and get a really good coat of Mod Podge all over this tumbler. You really want to seal these scales in really well, because if you don't, the cardstock will actually absorb the epoxy. So I make sure and get a super good coat of Mod Podge on here. And I actually did 3 coats of Mod Podge on this tumbler because I wanted to make sure it was good and sealed. I would recommend doing 3 coats of Mod Podge. Anytime I've seen this cup done before, or any fabric tumblers done before, I have seen where everyone has recommended to do at least 3 coats of Mod Podge. So 3 coats work perfectly for me, so that is what I would recommend doing. But just get in there really good. I made sure to get all around the scales on the top and the bottom really good, and also in all the little bitty nooks and crannies where the scales meet each other and everything. And once I let that completely dry, I added another 2 additional layers of Mod Podge, letting it dry completely between each coat. So I went ahead and let that Mod Podge dry overnight, and now it is time to cut all these little pokies off from the top where the little mermaid scales poke up. So I took my craft knife here, and not cutting towards myself, I'm cutting down. I am going to just run right along the edge of the cup, right along the rim of it, and I'm going to just cut the top of these little pokies from the mermaid scales. And just like I said, be careful, don't cut towards yourself, don't put your finger in the way, don't cut your finger off, and make my way around the cup. So once I'm done with that, it is time for yet another coat of Mod Podge. So I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did earlier. I'm going to take my paintbrush, and I'm just going to get a really good coat of Mod Podge all over this whole cup. I believe I bought this thing of Mod Podge on Amazon what seems like an eternity ago, and I can't hardly use it all because it's such a big container, which is awesome. And then also I did buy these paintbrushes on Amazon as well. Any paintbrush will use though, honestly. I bought a really big variety pack, and I like how soft the bristles are on it. It smooths everything out nicely. I use it for all different projects whenever I'm applying tack it to a cup for the tack it method, whenever I'm glittering, or if I'm applying Mod Podge. These are my go-to brushes for that. So I'll have those linked down as well. Okay, so as I finish up this second coat of Mod Podge here, I am going to let it completely dry, and then I will be starting on my third coat of Mod Podge. And I'm not sure what happened with my video camera here. It cut off partially through Mod Podging this, so this part is a really short clip, but thankfully it's a really short clip because, I mean, this is getting a bit repetitive at this point. So basically 3 coats of Mod Podge on here, let it completely dry between each coat. So now, as you can see, it's got a really nice sealed in finish, and then I've got this Krylon gloss black spray paint, And also this color here, this is a color shifting pigment. It's called Hope Diamond. It is by KCC Glitter, my line. And I took my cup outside and I spray painted it with the gloss black spray paint. I like to use a gloss black spray paint for this because it stays kind of wet and tacky longer than a matte spray paint does. So I let this spray paint dry just long enough so that it became tacky enough to hold onto this pigment powder that I'm going to be brushing onto this cup. Now, this pigment powder works really well burnishing it onto a cup using a makeup brush or something similar to that. I bought these makeup brushes also on Amazon. I will link them in the description box below as well. And I'm basically just dipping my brush super lightly into the powder. You don't need much. A little bit goes a really long way. And you just dip it down into the powder and then you burnish it onto that tacky gloss spray paint. Like I said, I always use gloss for this because the gloss stays tacky so much longer than a matte spray paint does. A matte spray paint would probably dry a little bit too quickly for what we're trying to do here. So make sure and go with the gloss if possible. And I'm burnishing it on, making sure I get it on there really good everywhere. And these come in a 1 gram container. A little bit goes a long way. Like I said before, you should be able to get 4 to 5 cups out of a 1 gram container if used properly. Now look at the color shift on these scales. It is absolutely stunning, y'all. And I mean, the camera doesn't even pick up the real beauty of it. It is just so pretty in real life. So I am going to go ahead and apply my first coat of epoxy here. And for this tumbler here, I actually used Swiftpoxy epoxy from Tumblerpoxy. And Swiftpoxy, the thing that I love about it is completely dry to the touch where I can handle the cup within 3 hours. It is absolutely amazing. And you still have the gloss clear finish of the Tumblerpoxy, but it's fast drying. So you've got Swiftpoxy. So I love Swiftpoxy. I am 100% a fan of Swiftpoxy, and I wanted it to dry quickly because I wanted to hurry up and get this tutorial out for y'all because I'm super excited about launching the glitter line, and I wanted this tutorial out before our launch. So I'm just going to get a nice even coat of epoxy on this cup. And usually I wouldn't use 30 milliliters of epoxy when applying glitter, but I'm just applying chunky glitter, and I'm applying it in a way that it doesn't matter if the glitter kind of migrates just a little bit, because I do want it to migrate slightly. So and I'll show you what I mean here in just a bit. So I've smoothed my epoxy out all over the cup, and then I'm going to hit it with my blowtorch really quick, just killing any little micro bubbles that may be trying to hang out and making sure that the epoxy lays nice and smooth. So I'm checking out how beautiful it is right now. So this is my blowtorch, also bought on Amazon, and I'm just making a super fast pass back and forth over the cup. And I know it's sped up here, but it really is fast in real life too, because if you hang out too long, you're gonna scorch and burn that epoxy. So once I'm using Swiftpoxy, so it does dry a little bit faster, so I'm not gonna waste a lot of time. This glitter here, it's a chunky glitter by KCC Glitter. It's called Disco Fever, and this is a holographic chunky glitter. And this glitter goes absolutely perfectly with this Chameleon color shifting mica powder, pigment powder. So I got the bottom really good. I just got a really solid layer of glitter on the bottom. And then I got a really solid layer just around the bottom edge here. And as you can see, I'm gonna tilt my cup just a little bit, and I'm gonna tilt it so that the glitter almost cascades up the cup. But I've got it tilted so it's, you can see what I'm saying. But anyways, I'm also going to do the same exact thing to the top rim. Right on the rim, I'm gonna get a really good thick layer, and then I'm gonna tilt my cup and just kind of let the glitter naturally fall down the cup. Same thing that I did with the bottom, and I'm gonna go in and I'll go back and forth between the top and the bottom and just make sure that it's falling like I like it and that I don't have any bald spots and it's all kind of falling evenly. but you just want it to kind of just cascade just a little bit. And if you tilt it, it will do its thing on its own, but you want to sprinkle very, very sparingly. Don't put too much on there, because if you put too much on there, it's going to just dump a bunch and it'll look crazy. So just sprinkle sparingly. Less is more. You can always add more to it. Once I get it on and I'm happy with how it looks, I'm going to put it back on my spinner. And then I'm going to take a really small piece of wax paper, or you can use parchment paper. I like wax paper. I think it's pretty much the same thing just about, but I just take a little bit of wax paper and I dab at that chunky glitter. So any little areas that I see that are trying to poke up or anything like that, I dab them just ever so gently. Like I said, I did use 30 milliliters of epoxy, which is more than I would usually use when applying glitter. So you don't want to dab too much, just because it can make your glitter move. So now that I have got that glitter on, my Swiftpoxy is dry, it's time for another coat of Swiftpoxy on this cup. And I forgot to record this part, but I did take some clear Rust-Oleum 2X gloss spray paint. I took my cup outside and I put a real just thin coat of clear spray over that chunky glitter, and that helps to keep the epoxy or the glitter from trying to repel the epoxy. Sometimes that chunky glitter wants to repel the epoxy just a little bit, which will cover up with a second coat of epoxy over the glitter, but I just find that if I do a quick coat of clear spray over the chunkies, it just helps everything stay in line better, and it just seals it up a little bit better. So I'm gonna get this second coat of Swiftpoxy, which I mixed up 30 milliliters here as well. I'm gonna get a really good coverage over the cup and making sure I didn't miss any areas. And then once I'm certain that I have got epoxy over the whole cup, I'm going to go ahead and smooth it out. So I take one finger, I start at the bottom of the cup, and I push up the cup as it spins around. And once I make my way all the way around the cup, I'm going to take my finger, swipe on the bottom really quick, because you don't want a lumpy bottom. You don't need a whole lot down there. If you have too much epoxy down there, it will make your cup lumpy on the bottom, and it won't sit evenly. Nobody wants a wobbly cup. So then I will take my blowtorch and I will torch it really quick and make sure that I pop any micro bubbles. And there you have it. So this thing is absolutely stunning. And I actually put 2 coats of epoxy over this chunky glitter so that I made sure I had it nice and smooth before I sanded it. And this is my second coat of epoxy over the chunky glitter. This is a heavier cup because it does require more epoxy. It's got all of the cardstock scales on it, the Mod Podge on it. So yes, it is a little bit of a heavier cup, but it is absolutely stunning. So I kind of super sped this second coat of epoxy over the chunky glitter. Kind of super sped that up because I think you get the point by now as to how to apply this epoxy. So get it on there, take my one finger, smooth it down really good all the way around the cup, swipe the bottom, and then torch it really quick. All right, so now that my Swiftpoxy is completely dry, it is time to sand this cup. So to sand my cup, I use this 220 grit sandpaper. It has a sticky adhesive back to it. So I just pull the backing off and stick it to my fingers, and I have complete control with this sandpaper. I 100% recommend this sandpaper with the sticky back to it. And I also really love using the 220 grit sandpaper because it isn't too harsh on my epoxy. I don't like the larger sandpapers, like the 120 grit and stuff like that, because it almost seems to gouge the epoxy sometimes, and I just have much better luck using the 220 grit. So once I kind of break the barrier of where the chunky glitter overlaps the rim of my cup, I just take a razor blade and I just cut any little excess chunkies that were poking up over the edge of the cup, and then I knock it down again with my sandpaper, making sure everything is super smooth. The body of my cup here is really smooth everywhere except where the chunky was. The chunky was pretty smooth, but I just wanted to make sure that it was super smooth. But I just went ahead and sanded the whole cup anyways, and then I take it and I wash it in my sink. Now this is a tumbler cradle from Hootiful Creations. And I actually got this on Etsy, and I absolutely love it. This thing holds my tumbler in place like no other. Now, I cut this logo, and I'll get back to the cradle here in just a minute because I'm going to brag on it a little bit more, but I want to explain this logo first. So I found this logo on Etsy as well, and I'll link it down in the description box below, but it says "Seize the Day." We didn't want to, my sister wanted me to make this cup for her, and so this was a saying that she liked. She liked the mermaid saying, but she didn't want it like super mermaidy, so we just went with, she wanted this, she liked this saying, and it was still kind of mermaid type, but not overly mermaid, because the scales are already overly mermaid. So we went with this saying, and I cut it with holographic silver vinyl with my Silhouette Cameo 4. And because it's kind of a larger image and it's right there on the curve of the tumbler, I decided to go ahead and pull the bottom word away from the image, or away from the rest of the words. And I wanted to make sure that I got "Seize the" laid out nice and flat, and then I'd come back and place "day" on there. And you can do that if you have an image that's a little bit difficult to place because it's in a weird spot or a weird curve on the tumbler. By all means, you can split that decal up and place it separately. And then also my squeegee tool that I use here is amazing. I got it on Amazon, and it's got like a felt tip to it, so I don't have to worry about it scratching my vinyl or anything like that. So it smooths my stuff out really easily. So as you can see, I just placed this last word separately because it went on so much easier this way. And then I'm going to squeegee it down as well. And there you have it. I do want to mention, with reflective vinyl like that, use your clear spray. If you take that thing out and you just give it a nice light coat of clear spray paint, it will help keep your vinyl from lifting once it's under epoxy. I've seen where a lot of people have had problems with that. So just take your cup outside, give it a nice clear coat to it, and once that's dry, then epoxy it. So for this last coat here, I've got another 30 milliliters of Swiftpoxy epoxy mixed up, and I'm going to just apply it to the cup. And this is my last and final coat on this cup. And the awesome thing about Swiftpoxy epoxy is you can use it as your final coat. It has got some awesome UV protectants in it, so you don't have to worry about it turning yellow, and it can be used as your final coat, and it is absolutely stunning. It's so beautiful. So it's my favorite. I am going to just get it spread out on this cup really well, and then, as you've seen me multiple times before, take my one finger, start at the bottom of the cup, and swipe up the cup as the cup spins. Swipe the bottom so we don't have a lumpy bottom. And then I'm going to take my blowtorch and give it a super quick torch, making sure that it is nice and smooth, bubble free, and everything for that final coat of epoxy. And like I said, y'all, 2 days. We have 2 days until KCC Glitter website launches. So be sure to check it out. And here is the beautiful cup. I absolutely love how it turned out. And I want to say a huge thank you to all of my Patreon members. Y'all freaking rock, and y'all are awesome. I love y'all, every single one of y'all, and thank you so much for your support. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit the like button and also subscribe to check out more videos like it. I hope y'all have a great day, and as always, y'all take care. Bye.